Today I am here with another episode of Heart Brain Creative Podcast. I'm talking with Travis Bentley.
Hello.
I have known you for a bit now, handful of years.
Probably about 8.
Oh my goodness, it's been that long already. That's awesome. I've seen you, I think I know you through like Dylan a little bit. I think I might have met you. I've seen you a lot of art shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make sure that everybody gets to know, if they don't already, because I know you're like in a lot of shows and I love that, what you do, how you got started kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, just kind of wanted to get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Well, got started doing shows actually in Sioux Falls. My first one was at Art Collective in 2015, 2016? I think it was 2015 actually. Yeah, I think that was actually where I got to know you first.
Yeah.
Doing my first run of prints
I think it was back at Lucky's, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was when it was still in the old building, but that was my first art show. I'd been doing art before that. I'd been doing it, all my life kind of thing, but seriously doing it probably about 2015 and on was when I started seriously wanting to improve and trying to do things differently, trying to like push myself to do a lot more than I was currently doing, which was just, I'll just doodle here and there and enjoy it, but trying to make it into something. So that was kind of where it started. That was about the year that I was working in graphic design at a small company, and the company themselves started laying off about everybody. And then about that time I go, you know what? I'm going to do this. It wasn't like the greatest time in the world, but it was something where I said, if it's going to happen, just do it now. So I started pushing myself into that, and then I started doing freelance graphic design. Instead of trying to find a company to work for, I just did it myself. So I started doing kind of both of those sides. I did freelance art and freelance graphic design, and I've been doing that since, more or less.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of where the start of it went, and now I'm here.
So what kind of artwork do you do then, for people who don't know?
So for both sides of it, so for the graphic design, I do business logos. I do like creative branding, any of that. I usually try to work for smaller businesses, just so they have a little bit more access to really good graphic design without going through like a giant company that is going to make them a website and is going to do the whole big thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of small businesses just need logo, business card, a couple of flyers, and some icons and stuff.
Oh,
so
right.
I kind of try go in that little area for my graphic design, and then for art I do mostly pen and ink, traditionally done illustrations, and then I kind of do a mix of watercolor and digital colors depending on the subject matter. I've been trying to do a lot more on the watercolor side of things, so doing mostly all of it traditionally. And I've been really having a lot of people really love that style, and they're like, ooh, you should do more of that. So I've been trying to push to do more of that. But for subject matter, it ranges a lot. I have a lot of interests, so a lot of it is, if I'm going to pick the first one, it's going to be like machines, robots, mecha, stuff that's very intricate, very detailed. But then I also do some cute stuff, some stuff that's like, once I get a little bit too much of one, then I have to like flip gears and do something, simple and cute and adorable. And then I kind of bounce back and forth. But my portfolio kind of has a whole range of weird stuff that I'm into. So
it's all about balance, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you've been in quite a few shows. What kind of shows have you been in? You were at the one, the Art Collective.
Yes.
I think you do like conventions and stuff, don't you?
Yep. So this year has kind of been the pickup year again. I actually went part-time at my job at the very, very beginning of 2020 with the anticipation of doing 15 plus convention shows and art shows, and that was like the big, I'm gonna make it happen, this is gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then we all know how that went. So this is the first year where I've been able to actually do the number of conventions I had kind of planned on doing a few years ago. So this year I've done so far about 12.
This year?
Yep. I had, the spring was, I think I had 1 weekend off, and then it was 3 weeks on the road. Every weekend was a different show. But I've been kind of doing North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, went down to Missouri for a couple of shows. So kind of keeping towards the Midwest, but just trying to build up more of a following and then see if I can go to some of the larger areas eventually. But I have to make sure the plan from 2020 has to happen before I go any farther into that.
Oh, sure.
But I do a variety of shows. A lot of them are the pop culture conventions. Kind of the standard. Everybody's welcome. All the genres are there. I've done anime conventions. I've done just fantasy and sci-fi conventions. I've done one horror convention that kind of works, but I have enough horror stuff to get in the door. But then you look around and everybody's deep into horror, and I've still got robots and Pokemon and stuff. So people are like, oh, well, that's different and kind of nice, but where's the horror stuff?
Cute.
So I do a couple of those, but I try to do a lot of different genre shows, and then I also do smaller art shows. I love going to Art Collective and just having a lot of artists and crafters and that kind of stuff. At first I thought that wasn't quite my market, but the more I go to them, it's nice to have visual art of a pop culture nature in the same vein as fine art, in the same vein as crafters, jewelry makers, that kind of stuff, because everybody's looking for something a little bit different, and you get a big variety of crowds. Although farmers markets, I cannot do farmers markets. I am not that market at all. I tried one of them, and I was the only visual artist there, and I was like, no, the age demographic was not for me.
Oh,
I had a lot of, that's very interesting. And I'm like, I know what that means. But thank you for saying it.
Still polite, but
Yes.
I get it.
So yeah, but those are the lot of shows that I've been doing lately. I have my next show is actually this weekend.
Okay.
And then I have about 2 months off of traveling shows, and then I have 2 shows that are going to be in Sioux Falls. I'm going to be having the Bizarre, that's going to be through Prince and Repeat, and Sonny's Pizza, that I'm really excited about. And then I'm going to be doing Art Collective. They're bringing back the summer show for it. I'm super excited because it's been winter shows for a couple of years, and I love the Art Collective a lot. So I'm going to be happy to stay in town, still get to do art shows, but not have to pack up and drive 6 to 8 hours in a day.
Yeah, it'd be a long day, but I mean, I'm sure it's kind of also fulfilling, and knowing that you're kind of
very
continuing to travel, meeting new people and everything too.
Yeah, and going to places that my work has never been shown before, and still having a really good reaction versus do people buy my stuff here because they already know who I am? Whereas when you go to somewhere where absolutely no one knows you and you have a good response, they're like, okay, so then they like the work that you're doing, not necessarily just who you are.
I think that says a lot too. I mean, to be doing that for a while and getting that experience and knowledge, it's great, because otherwise a lot of artists are like, oh yeah, my mom bought my painting.
Exactly.
And that can be a struggle, but I mean, you have to push yourself and just schedule it and just go.
Yep. And tell people what you do for multiple years, because some people just don't know what you do if you don't talk about it. Because I'm just now, the last couple of years, I've had commissions, custom art pieces that I've been able to do that people just didn't know that I worked on. They're like, oh, I didn't know that you did stuff. I'm like, well, I draw. I can draw anything you want me to.
Yeah.
Plus or minus.
Right.
So I've had a lot of people just this year go, oh, you're the guy. I know I've seen you. I know you do art. I know you do commissions.
Yeah.
Some of them have been people that I've known for a few years that, didn't know how serious I was about doing this as my full-time job and wanting to do more of that. So they're like, oh, well, I love that idea. I've always wanted something from you. I get, I want this, and this. And I'd be like, yep, I can make that work. So I've had, pretty much consistent commissions for 4 or 5 months, which has been really cool, because it's always more fun to make something that someone specifically wants, because then they're going to be like, oh, they love it, or the little details you put in that they weren't expecting. I mean, it's the same thing that you get when you're at a show and people love your work, but you're making it for someone, so it's even better.
Oh yeah. Well, Travis, I'm so glad you came on here just to get to know a little bit more about you. And I love your setup, because I remember when you're kind of looking into what kind of ways to get it, vertical and all this stuff, that just to see your process from, growing and to has been really cool.
And that's why I have to keep taking pictures as I do more conventions to be like, this is what I had 4 years ago. And you're like, wow, that's like so
well, it's going to be really exciting to see at this show. There's the Art Collective coming up, and then the Bizarre show. It's August 20 at Sonny's from 1 to 5. It'll be really exciting to see you there.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm going to be bringing more of my originals, because it's going to be an in-town show.
Yes.
Normally I don't bring all those with me, but I think I'm going to do a much heavier presence of my original work, so it's going to be a great time to check out all that stuff I don't normally bring with me on shows. So if you see me at a show, you probably haven't seen the stuff I'm going to bring.
Oh, that'll be really cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Allison.